What's going on, everybody? This is your main man, brother Syed. Today is Thursday, June the 15th, and I just want to wish the ladies, Lavania, and all the ladies that performed at the Carolina Theater today. I just want to hope y'all event went well. I've been driving and working, but I'll be out this weekend. So I'm just on here for a few minutes, and we're gonna talk about Juneteenth. And for those of y'all who don't know what Juneteenth represent, it was, and I'm gonna try to make a simple pilot. It was when we was officially was supposed to be freed from slavery by Abraham Lincoln Emancipation Proclamation. So that's saying that's officially supposed to have been the date that we was considered free from slavery. And through the years, it's been picked up to the point where the state has made it a state holiday. I don't know if it's a federal holiday, but the state has made it a state holiday, and we have all these great events going on. Throughout the country. But after 2, 3 days of celebrating our, and Malcolm would say so-called freedom, where do we go from here? How do we put ourselves in a position where we reclaim our ownership of the black community? We and what I mean by ownership of the black community, how and when do we start working on getting more black businesses in black neighborhoods, and we as people support these black businesses in black neighborhoods? And if there is a black business in the black neighborhood, the people that runs and own these stores should, put 100% effort in treating us like we are customers and not black people. I hate to say it like that, but I hear so many times when people go in stores and they have an issue with the black people that run the stores, but when they see how they deal and talk to other people, the whole conversation is different. And even on the flip side of that is how we go in and treat, you know, these black people that run these stores or own these stores. So we have to work on a love and respect, for each other, like we show respect for others when we go into their stores. And I truly believe that if we come together as a people, and settle what differences we think we have, we can restore our love for one another. We can recreate a bond that we had for many, many, many years. So, and I'm one to sit here and say I don't believe that the relationship amongst the black community and the black community is broken. It's just been manipulated by those who capitalize off of our so-called shortcomings, and that's what they say we have tempers. you know. So we need to work on that. That should be our mission. Our second mission should be we have to reconnect with any African American religious community that feel as though that they're stepping back from the community because of how things are going. And I think we are both victims of it, and we both should be held accountable for that situation, and creating a conversation of what we need to do to reestablish some type of relationship. Because if anybody knows anything about the Bible, and I'm not going to talk about the Quran because this is a Christian-based community, that it's always about it's about Christianity. So, and the Bible talks about people coming together. The Bible talks about people living together, and the Bible also talks about mending, differences, and moving forward. Just because you doesn't agree or just because you doesn't agree or have good feelings about a person, that still doesn't mean we can't get together and work on things that's going to benefit both of us, both communities. And like I said, we going into Juneteenth. There's going to be a lot of love, out there this weekend. It's going to be so much love out there this weekend. It's going to take us back to the who can remember that back into the 60s and the 70s and some parts of the 80s where we could get together and have these parties and people just enjoy each other's company. So once we go out there this weekend, we should be thinking about the love that we're going to share this weekend, and let's try carrying that love and and support beyond that weekend. And it can be done. It can be done. And I think we all are accountable for our actions as an individual, for our actions as a community. But one thing that we have to get out of this negative thinking about us as people, we have to get out of that, because if you go to LinkedIn, if you go to Instagram, if you go to Facebook, you see all these great things black people are doing. You see what I'm saying? But what we need to do now is all these great things that we're doing, all these businesses that we see on TV that they open in $1 million business. Let's try bringing that to the neighborhood. Sit down with the neighborhood. Sit down with the police and explain to these people in the neighborhood what our goals and our intentions are. We're coming back to build and create a community where we can love and work with each other. And we're not going to let people that doesn't have a love and respect for the community or the businesses we bring in bring that down or tear that down. These are the type of conversations we have to have, and we have to let those who are in that who has that negative way of thinking about the community. You have to let them know. You have to put them on blast. You have to have that conversation with them, let it and say, hey, you have to keep it 100. This is where we at, this is where you at, and this is where we need to be. That's the only conversation we have to have, and not just with those who we think is a hindrance or hurting the community. We have to have that conversation amongst ourselves. So, and I'm just bringing this up because I know this weekend is going to be a lovely weekend. This should be a weekend where is we have, I wish, and because I try to do and put together so many things, and me personally, I don't think people grasp onto what I'm trying to do because I'm pro-black. I'm a black nationalist, and I honestly think people don't want to connect with me because of the way I think, and the way I talk, and the way I view things. And I'm too old to sit here and try to compromise with anyone. I'm too old for that. I done been there, done. I done seen everything and then been through everything. So my conversation is about what are we going to do. That's the whole conversation. That's the only conversation I can have with people. And I, and people can say what they want about Brother Syed, but since I've been here, I've been about the black culture. Now everything I say, people might not agree with, but I believe that I've been put on this earth for a reason. I moved to Greenball for a reason, and I think that I have done some good things, and I think there's some things that people probably think I haven't done that are good, but I haven't never stole from nobody, I haven't never lied to anybody, and I haven't never shitted on anybody. Now there are two people, and I never said their names. There was one person, and this has to do with film. There's one person that I have to apologize to. And I say this, I done said this quite a few times, but I never said her name. Katrina Jane. She's one of the only people. And there's another sister that I need to apologize to, her and her son, but I can't think of the name right off the head. But they know who I'm talking about. If I have to apologize for anybody for anything I ever did, that's for not stepping to my sister and having a conversation with her, professionally from far as film. But far as personal, I never said anything about it, never done anything to it, just that I handled a situation that was wrong. And I say this be like the fourth time I said to Katrina, I love you, and I'm just asking you for forgiveness. It's been many, many years, but that's been on my heart for a while. And that's about it. But everybody else, I show love, in my films and in business or whatever I do. So nobody can say I shitted on them. And I just needed to get that off my chest because that was heavy on my heart. But far as Juneteenth and people coming together and things of that nature, and I'm going to put this out there, and I'm just saying this. I moved here in 1995, and I'm going to give people a little history about what Brother Syed has went through, what Brother Syed has been through, and what Syed, I personally think, put people in a position to prosper. I moved here in 1995. I went to the Culture Center in 95, late 95, 96. And this is how things worked. I presented a play to them. They turned the play down. And I used to always go to the Culture Center and see all the little stuff they did. They did black shit, but it was stuff that the majority made the majority look like they was helping the saving black people. They wasn't doing stuff that really represented black culture. So I went down with a play. The name of the play was Love and Loyalty. And had Malcolm X on the cover. So what I did was I presented the play. They said it didn't get picked because of whatever reason, but I asked them what was the play about, and they couldn't tell me. And the play was not about Malcolm X. The play was about his wife Betty Shabazz, who I wrote in as a single parent while she was still married to Brother Malcolm because he was always gone. So that was the first incident I had with them. But the best thing about that, which and I don't, I had to play the race card because you can't sit here and tell me as a black person that my story, whether it's about Malcolm, whether it's about Marcus Garvey, whether it's about whoever, isn't worth telling because I'm in this community that believe that believe how they represent the black culture or the black story was beneficial to them, but not us. And then after that, we did a play there, Grand Slam. I mean, it was a great play. It was we believe it was the first all black production, far as the night of shorts for the cultural center. And we had black producers, black directors, we had black everything. We had some white actors in it, but far as production, it was a total all black crew. We did that there. You know what I mean? And then moving forward, I started, and I was just doing this. I was doing my film thing. I started showing films in there. We were showing films in there. The next thing I know, everybody doing films in there. So they got to the point is they. I'm not gonna say they took advantage of it, but they played off it because when they put the theater in, the dance theater in, they didn't have a projector. Then I start showing films. They put a projector in. So it's a whole bunch of things that has transpired since I've been here, and I work diligently to make things work for us, because that's my focus. If it doesn't work for all the blacks that I think I'm representing, it's not benefiting me. You see what I'm saying? Because that's just how I am, and I'll never forget this. Miss Bynum used to sit at that front desk all the time, and I go in there, and she used to tell him, "Don't give up." She said Miss Bonham used to tell me. She said they leery and they're a little afraid of you because of how you come through the door. And I'm from up top, so I'm zooming like I'm on dope. But I was just had that. That's how much energy I was pouring out in that culture center, and they wasn't ready for that, And then we moving forward, and this is the stuff that we did. Then me and my partner Tiffany McKeever, we started Paper to Film, which was a great program. Paper to Film was a great program. We started this Paper to Film program, one of the first real film programs where kids had the opportunity to come and learn how to become filmmakers. Me and Tiffany McKeever put this, and we started out with 7 girls. One year we had over 30 kids. You know what I mean? Then COVID kind of hurt us. But this was the thing about Paper to Film where I really understood, where I learned, and where I really seen how much they respected me and respected my business partner Tiffany McKeever, and respected our program. We had probably one of the fastest growing and strongest programs during the Summer Night Lights. From 2013 to when we stopped in 2019, we only one director came to the kids' film premiere, and that was Mary Alice, who educated me on on the mindset of the cultural center. Now I'm not sitting here throwing shade at the cultural center because I still use them. You know what I mean? And I use them because it's good for me and it's good for the community. But I'm just letting people know what it took for me, and it took for those be after me to be able to be in the position they're in today. And I just put that out there because I see so much going on, and it's like they still give me my little, they still try to, work against me sometimes. But I just gotta straighten them and say, look, I've been here since '95. And I take credit for some of the for some of the things that goes on in that culture center, because like I said, when I moved here in '95, we didn't have that much going on. Me, Ebony Day, I think Ebony Day, right? They never had it 2 years, about 4 or 5 years back. You can ask her. We put together this thing for 2 years in a row, where all the local black artists never had their stuff in an art gallery. We put that together in the art gallery. I think it was doing Black History Month for 2 years. That these local artists never had their stuff in the art gallery, was in the culture center, in the art gallery there. And these artists was making money. They were selling their stuff the 2 years in a row. And the worst thing about it, after all the stuff we went through, all the stuff we put together, you know what I mean, it just goes back to normal with them, and it goes back to normal with not with me, because I'm always pushing the movement to put my black people in a position to share their art, and and let people see their art. It's like with the film I just completed. We had Evan Gibson. You had a girl named Avena. Forgot Avena's last name. We had my girl. Hey, damn it, what's my girl name? I forgot my girl that Chris, and I'm always talking to her. She's part of she's part of the reggae group. Well, it'll come back to me. They was on my film. They in the film. Their music is on the film we just completed on my own. So it's all about giving artists opportunity. And I'm just going through all this because I think, what we are, you know, coming upon this weekend. I think that I want to, show love out for the people that put the thing together. I want to show love out for all the artists. I want to show love out for all the performers and all the food truck. And we're gonna make this a a gun-free, crime-free weekend. This your main man, brother Syed, and you know what I close with. Get the black mind right. Oh, I got her name. Denardra James. Denardra James, Evan Gibson, and Avena. They in the film. We used their music for the film, and they did a great job. So I just had to get that out there. And like I said, I keep doing what I'm doing because it's all about the culture. It's all about the blackness with me. And you know what I close with. Get the black mind right. Peace.